Well, I'd have bet against it, but they're back. Mark and Mike. It doesn't take a genius.
Ramsey,
Marshall,
how are
it's
you doing?
time. Well, I'm excited because we're finishing up our whole look at Cotter's 8-step change model. There's the book again.
Yes, there it
Uh,
is again. Looks nothing like this on Amazon now. But yeah, welcome to part three, and we're winding down. We've got two things to talk about,
right.
and so we've been talking about three things in the first, three things in the second. So just imagine, right? We'll recap the journey. You've created this sense of urgency. You have this incredible vision. Uh, you're removing obstacles. People are celebrating the short-term wins. What could be left to do? The change should be
Yeah.
cemented at this point.
Yeah. And from you were giving some of the steps there, but from the big picture perspective, what we've really done at this point is, on the one hand, got the climate ready for change, and on the other hand, got our people doing the change, right? Like they're empowered. We're communicating with them. They're enabled to go do it. Now we have to make it stick. And I personally, you and I talked a little bit, but I find this to be the hardest part. It's hard to think of organizations where it's stuck long term. That they didn't just implement change, but they sustained it for the duration.
Oh,
Yikes.
definitely. And all the research you read, all the books you read say this is the danger point.
Mm-hmm.
And especially the celebration of small wins. So you're a manager, you've got all these things pulling at you, you're a leader, you're a store owner, whatever it might be, and you've had a couple of people that have expressed positive things about it. You've seen some positive results, and so now you're much more likely as the leader of this change to walk away and go start the next one.
Yeah, sort of
And
clap your hands and
yeah,
say, "There, we did it. Great."
we are awesome. And then what happens is what I call process or change evaporation. So nobody makes a conscious decision to stop doing the new thing. It just, well, that guy was off, so we didn't do it that day, and then we got so, and then those customers, and then it's 3 4 months later, and somebody goes, hey, we still doing that thing?
Yeah.
And somebody goes, no, we haven't done the thing for a couple months now, and it's like, well, who said to stop? Well, nobody said stop.
Mm.
It's just the change wasn't cemented. So as Connor says, that he says we can declare victory too soon.
Mm.
And this is a great case of this where yeah, I'm going to declare victory because I've had some wins, but it's too soon. And one of the things that happens here is if the change stops, it slides backwards. So the change has, think of it as an arc, right? It's got momentum, and then it stops, and then it slides back down to the bottom of the hill. So now I'm
Mm-hmm.
sitting at a dead stop at the bottom of the hill with no momentum.
Yeah.
And the folks we talked about earlier, the bystanders, the victims, and the critics, they're gloriously
Yeah.
happy.
See?
Once again, my prognostication was 100% right. And the poor navigator who's been trying to help you push this change up the hill, right? He's now got the wind knocked out of him.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, I'm no longer getting the same level of manager support that I was getting with this.
So what do you do with this? Because I mean, the way I've always looked at it is that's going to happen. Period. Right. I mean, there are going to be these moments where we could be the best intentioned organization in the world and the highest caliber organization in the world, and we're making a change, and there will be a period where we implement it, and then we slide off, and change evaporates. So how do you come back out of that curve, and not just sort of declare victory and walk away and see that evaporation take hold forever?
Well, I think there's multiple opportunities within that. I think the biggest one is stay focused until you know that there's commitment to the change. And
Mm.
there's the best way to do that is to listen for this one phrase. And this is the phrase you need to listen to if you're a leader. We should have done this years ago. So as soon as you hear that phrase, you know that there's commitment to the change. You know that if you're not there and the thing stops working or the process breaks down, people will scramble to resurrect it, put it back, and keep it moving.
Right.
Right. But until you hear that phrase, we should have done this years ago, then ultimately there's the potential for the urgency of the change to be let up on and for it to slide backwards.
Okay, so we're talking about commitment, and hearing this key phrase that people, it shows that they're committed, that they say we should have done this years ago. What about the people that don't say that? What about those bystanders and the folks maybe even working against the change a little bit? Not necessarily poorly intentioned either. You know, sometimes with the best of intentions, feeling like, well, no, this is the wrong direction for us.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely not committed to that change. How do you what would you say to the organization that's wrestling with those personnel?
Well, I think it that brings us perfectly to the last point from Cotter's book, which is the biggest mistake we can make is not anchoring the change in the organization's culture.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to anchor the change in the culture, and there's a lot of definitions of culture. Mine is simply, it's the way we do things around here.
Yeah, that's mine too.
And so the change has to become so prevalent that it's just the way we do things around here.
Yeah.
When that becomes the case, what happens to those people who aren't moving forward with this change is there's a light that's shined onto them.
Yeah.
It becomes more and more readily apparent that they don't fit here anymore.
Yeah.
And so the pressure becomes, and we've seen this, the pressure becomes where, all right, so we've changed, the culture has changed, people are committed to this, we've got a few holdouts, and at some point we either figure out how to get them on board, or in many cases what we've seen is they move on. Right. We either encourage them to move on or they move on because they know it's not a good fit anymore. This, I didn't leave the organization. The organization left me.
Yeah.
They moved in a different direction. I'm not comfortable with that direction. I'm going to go find an organization that does it the way that I believe.
So many organizations that you and I have worked with over the years wrestle with this, and I'm thinking of our mentor, your mentor and mine, Greg Tansky. And I remember he used to say all the time, hey, any kind of long-term change people are wanting to make, it's going to take a bare minimum of 18 months. Mm-hmm. And in that period of 18 months, you're going to see some people leave. Some of them you will have exit the system, and some of them they'll elect to exit the system and say, this isn't what I signed up for. And, so with I know we have already sort of revealed our hand here and talked about both sides, but building on the change, those small wins and keeping the focus on the fact that we are still doing this and our commitment and leadership to seeing the change through, and then making that change a part of the culture, anchoring it into the organization, which is again another. It's asking for commitment from all parties involved. We're talking a lot about commitment, it looks like to me.
Well, tons of commitment, and you've used the word courage.
Yeah.
And so I think it's one of the things that we have to do as a coach, and one of the things you have to do as a leader is to think about, is this change so important to me that I would be willing to have some team members leave in order to make this change?
Mm.
And that's a question you should ask yourself before you even start the change.
Yeah.
And I had a organization, and they went out and recruited this kid, 20-something superstar, up and rising, trained in multiple areas. They saw him as the future of the franchise, one of those kind of players. They first time in the organization's history, they paid for his moving expense, moved him halfway across the country, brought him into the organization. His numbers are outstanding. He's just killing it from a personal performance standpoint. one of the changes the organization was trying to make was to create more of a team type organization where there was synergy and interdependency. This person, as the store owner told me, he said, "This guy's a me monster."
A me monster.
Yeah, he's a me monster. It's all about me, you know, and he wasn't doing the things to support the team, and in turn, the rest of the team was suffering. His numbers were great, the rest of the team not so good. This person, having invested and had all these sunk costs into this person, made the courageous decision to move him to a different location, where the me monster would have a chance to play out and contribute. And ultimately, hopefully, the goal would be to bring him back when there was some more maturity there. And so, but the courage to do that, the commitment to the change.
Yeah.
The man, I'm going to take this top recruit and move them out, even though his numbers are good, because it's not the direction I ultimately want us to go for long-term success. That takes guts.
Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does. And you're making me think of a client I had a few years back, and the owner of this company really wasn't sure about the entire leadership team, and had real misgivings, but wanted to see things play out and said, "I just want to make this change. I just want to see this change happen." And it was a specific thing for that client's business. But what ended up happening was that some of the managers, because of the owner setting that vision, basically realized that they were allowed to go forth and do what they did best, and that they were going to be supported. One other got fired, was not on board for the change, and another left for another opportunity because, again, they were not on board with the change. And there were layers upon layers of things going on there that predated me being involved in that organization. But what I realized, apparently it's Greg Tansky Day, but Greg always said, we're just an excuse for people to have a conversation that they need to have. Mm-hmm. And basically, when I got in the room with them once a month, that was a commitment. That was basically them saying, okay, we're going to have to talk about this once a month and be prepared to have that conversation with Mark in the room. And I have a talent at diffusing situations and not making them as tense and letting everybody talk. They talked it out, and they took some sales crowns. Let's just say that. I don't want to give away the client and their business, but once they had new sales managers in the organization that replaced these two that left, what happened was they knew who they were wanting to get, right? Because they had such a clarity of their vision at this point. Mm-hmm. And so they brought in two gentlemen who just absolutely owned it and took them to, it was a multiple of where they had been before. It wasn't just an increase in business. It was a multiple of where they had been before.
Oh, that's amazing. And yeah, you think, okay, when you start down this road, are the right people in the right seats with the right beliefs in order for me to make this change and
right.
to become this type of organization.
Right.
And yeah, to change out a whole management team, that's scary, but you make a good point. It also, at this point, I have a lot of clarity about who should be on the team. What are the attributes of the person that I want sitting in that seat in my organization?
Yeah. And all those team members were looking for clarity. They may not have said it, but it let them basically unlock their own performance.
Oh yeah, when you think about that, and we hear this from frontline team members, employees all the time, is okay, I see where the organization wants to go. I see that there's middle managers who are on board, but there's this one guy, and he's not on board at all, and they keep him. And that just undermines everything you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Right. So they see that as weakness from the leadership, right? They don't understand why you're not coaching this person to the right beliefs or changing them out or something, and then now they start to question whether or not the culture that's being built is going to be sustainable.
Yeah. Well, and we said culture earlier, and I think that's the kicker here, is that even if what you're trying to accomplish is not a change in culture, what you're doing is creating a change in culture. And so when you have somebody who doesn't line up with that, it may be that you just want to implement this new one process, or you just want to have this one thing that everybody does from here on out. But that's going to be how we do things around here. And so you're just in the process of giving everybody some clarity about what that is, about what our culture is. So all that's to say, when you have that one guy, he doesn't fit the culture. And if you allow him to continue, culture is what you allow. So guess what? The culture change you wanted to have, no, you didn't, because you allowed this guy to still be on board and a part of the team.
Mm-hmm. Well said. Well said. And me, I'm all about, simplistic checks. So if you want to see how it's going, you want to take the temperature of how it's going, all you have to do is take a person who's been there and who's been part of the change, and all you have to do is have them provide an orientation to the new hire. And you just ask the veteran person, say, tell the new person what's important around here.
Yeah, that's great.
And then listen. And another key is here, the psychologists tell us that the order in which they tell how we do things around here, or what we do around here, is also the order that person who's sharing it believes is important.
That's solid.
And so, just tell them what we do around here, or tell them what's important around here, whatever the question is that you think will generate that conversation. Let them run with it. You'll find out real quick what the person doing the orientation understands about the organization, what they have perceived from everything you've said that is truly important.
That's great. That's great. Well, so some real practical things here. A sentence that you're looking forward to hearing. We should have done this years ago. A question you can ask. Please orient this new hire. Tell them what we do around here. Are there any other checks that you want to lay out there that are nice little practical opportunities to make sure we're truly building on the change and making it a part of the culture?
Well, I think one of the things that you could do would just be to look through this list, right? Get the book, go on the website. It's out there.
It's all out there.
And one of the things I do is I give it to the person leading the change, and I say, give yourself a grade. Right, on these 8 things, A, B, C, D, or F. Yep. And I have them rate themselves, and that immediately they figure out, okay, I've painted a pretty clear vision. I've really done a really bad job of celebrating the small wins. Usually you hear, well, they should just do it because that's what's supposed to be done. It's not like I have to celebrate that. No, you have to celebrate it because it is new, it's different, and they are doing what you've asked them to do, which sometimes is a rare and beautiful thing. Yep. So that just gives you a sense of, okay, how am I doing leading this change? And ultimately to look for those small wins and to celebrate those folks who have come along with you. And you'll know very clearly who your first navigators, second navigators, third navigators are. And so making sure that those people receive the recognition, because every time you leave the room, they're the ones left to continue to sell the change. Yeah. And so making sure that you're what I call the change army is recognized, encouraged, energized, and motivated.
Love it. Well, I think that really is at the core of what we're talking about, that all of these steps are under the control of the leader. So you don't have to be paralyzed with, there's so many things I want to change. There's so many things that have to be addressed. Pick something and go to town with this list and let it guide your path on what's your personal next step to take.
Definitely. Good stuff. Well, that wraps up part 3 of our 3-part series. So hope you enjoyed it. If our announcer doesn't, lets us, we'll come back, and by all means, I'll put a link in the description for the book. And as always, if you liked what you heard, click the thumbs up button below. All right, let's see what our announcer has to say.
And that's it. Join us next time when you'll hear Mike say, well, I'm sure he'll say something pithy. Don't miss it. Next time, it doesn't take a genius.
That's good enough.